Oh yeah, kids, it's Professor Thomas here. We are in lesson 3, pre-genius mapping course, the good stinky rule. Kids, buckle in because it is going to be a wild ride. We're going to bounce around from place to place. First things first, we are going to take a look at the definition of the good stinky rule, apply this to a couple sentences, a couple passages that we've already talked about, and add to what we already know. We're in lesson 3, so we're going to build off lesson 1 and 2. Let's get a definition. Anytime anyone writes a sentence, there is always some hidden tone hidden within the sentence based upon the author's word selection. Let me give you an example. He picked at his food. The tone on that, negative. It feels like it wasn't a very delicious meal, so he picked at it. He gobbled his food down. Well, when you gobble your food, you're doing it fast. You maybe can assume that that is positive. The good stinky rule will be designated by plus minus signs. Plus for good, stinky will be designated with a negative symbol here. We are going to look at a couple examples here. This will actually be a quiz that we'll take. I'm going to have you turn the video off and go ahead and work with this material. But before we do that, let's go back into lesson 1 and look at the paragraph that we had written before about Calvin. So let's go ahead and take a look at that passage. 1 second here, we'll go back to that paragraph. Passage number 1 from lesson 1, applying the good stinky rule. Here it is about Calvin. Remember, the topic sentence here is about Calvin, and the verb is mechanically inclined. Let's go ahead and use the good stinky rule. Positive plus stinky negative. Very, the word very is a positive word. We could designate that with a plus. Inclined is a positive word, and therefore that will be designated with a plus symbol using the good stinky rule. Now, keep in mind this. The big picture for this whole paragraph is the topic sentence. If the topic sentence is positive, what can we assume about the details below? That's right. In order to support a positive topic sentence, we must have positive details. There are some exceptions to this rule, and that's called the flag flip-floppers from the structural clue lesson, which we'll see later on down the road. I think it's lesson number 5. But for right now, if we have a positive topic sentence, the details have to be positive. Detail number 1, it says, he made a wooden birdhouse with his dad when he was 6 years old. When you make something, most of the time, it is going to be positive. When he's 6 years old, that would, making something when you're 6 sounds pretty positive to me. We go to detail number 2. Later, when he was 9, Calvin designed a working model of a roller coaster. When you design something, that's another word for make, and that would be positive as well. A working model, when something works, that would be positive as well. We go to detail number 3. Now that he is taking geometry and math class, Calvin is working on creating an aerodynamic wood airplane that can actually fly. Can actually fly, positive. Creating is positive. Why? Because you are making something. Once again, you see Scooby-Doo saying the same thing, using different words. We're using the good stinky rule to identify all the positive things. When you're taking geometry and you are building airplanes, that seems on the positive side as well. Detail number 4, youthful prodigy. If you don't know what this word means, you can assume it is positive. Why? Because of all of the other details and because of the topic sentence. Exalted. It's another word that's positive. If you didn't know that, how could you assume that? The classmates are going to do something to this kid. when you win an award? Take a wild guess what kids in your class would say if you win an award. Something positive. Award, another word that's positive as well. Many words in here using the good stinky rule. Plus for good, stinky will be designated as minus. And the conclusion here, once again, using the good stinky rule, and thus is the life of an 11-year-old gifted, positive word, designated with a plus. And inventor. When you're an inventor, you're inventing cool stuff that's positive. Many times there are words in our details, topic, sentence, and conclusion that will have some hidden tone on them. Locate these and simply put a plus or minus above to designate them with a good stinky rule. Why is this important? Kids, you might want to know why. Why do I want to have some idea what's going on? First of all, when you know if the word is positive or negative, you understand the tone and the attitude of the author. If you get into a test question in school, the teacher loves to ask questions about what the author thinks. This is a tone question using the good stinky rule. Also, later down the road, when you hit ACT has a reading comprehension section that is quite difficult, and this will be one of the main rules that you will use to help answer the question. If the question asks you about a detail, you don't know what the detail says, but you can identify that the detail is negative, then you know the correct answer will have to emulate that and parallel. If it's negative detail, it sounds negative, then the answer will have to be negative as well. Let's go back to our previous assignment and start working with those practice problems. What I'd like you to do is pause the video here and go ahead and look at each one of those sentences, circle the word that has a tone and label it above the word plus or minus. I'll come on back with the answers in a moment. Go ahead, pause the DVD here now. Welcome back, everyone. It's Professor Thomas in the answers and explanations to the mini homework assignment that we just did here. Example number 1, using the good stinky rule. We are going to circle words that have some type of a flavor or tone. Above the word, we'll simply put a plus sign for good, a negative sign for stinky. Example 1, Kelly thought the math test was tougher than usual this week. The word tougher suggests negative, tough. Go ahead and put a negative symbol above the word tough. Example number 2, wow, that was quite a sandwich you ate. The word wow is positive. Quite a sandwich. Positive. And finally, there is an exclamation tone at the very end, which suggests excitement. When you're excited, positive. Example 3, that watch was $300. A $300 watch is probably a nice one. Example 4, I do not know where the Lunds in Plymouth is located. When you don't know, that is negative. Example 5, I could smell the egg smell from across the lunchroom. I could smell an egg smell. How does that smell? Yeah. If you smell something all the way across the lunchroom, most of the time that's a distraction. That would be negative as well. Example 6, how did you know that I did not finish my homework yet? How did you know? That's assuming the other person knew. That means it's positive. Even though this kid did not finish the homework assignment, the other person was clever enough to know. The tone is positive. That's a tricky one. Number 7, I ate a chocolate sundae with whipped cream after dinner. Chocolate sundae, positive. Whipped cream, positive as well. The good stinky rule says, whenever you see words that have some type of a tone or flavor, simply identify them with a plus for positive, a negative for stinky. On example number 8, we drove to see Grandma on Sunday. When you go see your grandma on Sunday, That is a nice thing to do. Maybe grandma is lonely and lives by herself. Positive. The good stinky rule, once again, kids, says this. Anytime you see a word or a sentence, it can have some type of a flavor or tone. Simply circle the words that have the tone and put a positive plus sign above the positive ones and a negative symbol for the stinky words. This is going to be important. Why? Why do we need to know the good stinky rule? Well, when you read to comprehend and understand, the number one thing you want to understand and follow is what the author is trying to suggest. What is the author trying to discuss? How does the author feel about the subject matter? With the good stinky rule, you'll be able to understand what the author thinks about the subject matter. Second, you will get test questions in school from your teachers. Your teachers love to ask you questions about the author's tone. What is the tone of the passage? Later on down the road, when you hit ACT preparation, these are some of the tricky questions. Once you understand that the tone is either positive or negative, then we are able to go in and cross out answer choices that have the wrong tone. For example, if a question asks me about line number 4, I see that line number 4 is negative. I know the answer will have to emulate that and match the negative sign. So answer choice A and B that are positive, using the good stinky rule, could be crossed out right away. This will help you reduce answer choices that are wrong, and then there's less work for us to do. We crossed out the wrong answer choices, and now we can go ahead and look at it a little further. The good stinky rule, once again, good, plus sign, stinky, negative sign. That's it for lesson number 3. It's Professor Thomas checking out. We'll see you in lesson 4, kids. Bye for now.